Can a Green City Prosper in the 21st Century? I did my book report on green cities, urban growth, and the environment by Matthew Kahn, the Brookings Institute, published in 2006. Here's the book cover right here. Good book. I'll start with the introduction. The end of the suburban building boom has brought focus back to our cities. Once great places of civic pride, they have been neglected for vast areas of space, and this has contributed to our dependence on non-renewable energy. Will the return to our cities see a decline in our woeful habit of wasting energy, or will we simply trade one for another? Is there a such thing as a green city? If there is, what are some drawbacks to a green city? And finally, can you really care for the environment and have a city that fosters economic growth? These are the questions explored and answered in my reading of Green Cities, Urban Growth, and the Environment. The reading summary and analysis that I did the book started off talking about urban growth taking place all over the world. 80% of people live in the cities now compared to 30% in 1950. So in about 65 years, increase of 50% over time, and that's a lot of people. Economists measure economic growth in cities by the EKC, which is the Environmental Kuznets Curve. It's a very, very important piece of the book, and it basically is the exact point where economic development harms or helps environmental quality. Green cities normally include places like San Francisco, Portland, and Vancouver, West Coast cities with a large environmental society and people that live there. And brown cities include Los Angeles, Mexico City, and New York. Urban centers that have lots of people, cars, and industrial pollution. Judging by conventional wisdom, these are the green and brown cities, but that may not necessarily be the case in each of these cities. Population growth and spatial growth can hamper the drive towards cleaner cities and maybe even create divisions of class. Population growth and spatial growth, as more people come to the cities and more people come to the cities from the rural areas, class and divisions could be set up for that as people are throughout all various stages of economic activity. So poor people, rich people, all these different people are coming, middle class people are all different coming, and they'll create their own classes once they get here to the city. Ecological footprints measure a city's impact on the environment. They include a formula that measures people's everyday choices with regards to using energy. Driving to work, using the bathroom, using a dishwasher, using household appliances. All these things contributed to the energy use and a city's ecological footprint. And this is similar to our first lab we did earlier this semester, where we determined how much energy we actually used, how many pounds of energy that we used. The same way, that's how cities measure their ecological footprint. They also measure how healthy or sick a city is by determining how much pollution is emitted and whether those types of pollution can be mitigated. Most cities don't do anything about noise pollution, for that is the heartbeat of a city. So you're going to have noise, you're going to have traffic, you're going to have cars, you're going to have all the type of things that make up noise in a city. It's going to happen because it's a city, basically. Strategies to reduce pollution include shoring up civic public health departments. By focusing on more ways to reduce pollution in poor areas, it can increase a city's value and ultimately make citizens' lives better. So the public health departments in each city have to have their work cut out for them, basically. They want to reduce pollution and want to attack those areas where it affects the poor more than it does the rich. Home prices also affect pollution. The more expensive an area is, the more greener it is perceived. And that is usually the case. Prices of homes have increased because of this assumption. In the book, he had a chart of every major city listed in America and the home values that increased over time as each city got richer. And on the more greener cities, the home values increased exponentially, and in more brown cities or Rust Belt cities, that value kind of either stayed the same or declined. Noise pollution is the leading indicator of the EKC curve. And lead emissions are the second indicator. And studies have shown that lead emissions have gone down over time. They have contributed to a healthier city. So as long as you get your lead emissions down, the city's health overall will go up. And as cities become more richer and more wealthier, most public health problems tend to go down over time. The same point I just said, basically. Once cities get richer, they get more healthier. The health problems, the public health departments don't have as much work to do, and the city's overall public health goes up. And that's partially because people in richer cities consume higher quality materials and usually work in non-industrial sectors such as the service sector. 70% of our economy is service related, providing a service for a consumer to produce or buy. So you have more workers working in the service sector, you have less workers working in industrial. Your public health will automatically increase. People in richer cities also buy more green things because of education. If you know better, you'll buy more greener things. You'll buy more things that will help the environment. So people in richer cities are doing that. And then buying green can make even more economical sense. And eventually, over time, buying green is becoming a culture and a status symbol. And we can see that nowadays with the Toyota Prius. It started out with one car line. Now it has 5 different variants. You even have the Tesla Model S, which is an all-electric car. You have the Chevrolet Volt. They're all-electric cars. They're status symbols now. They're more luxury cars. And rich people are buying these vehicles. The government must step in to protect property rights and regulating green policies. This is where good green governance comes in and respects the process in shaping their policies. The government is going to come in and try to shape and influence policy. And good governance says it reflects both sides. It reflects the free market and the economic side, and it reflects, shaping the public health side of it as well. And concern for the environment and the public health, they often run parallel to each other. So waste, water quality, preserving open space, those are some of the major areas where those two run together. You want to have your solid waste sites that improve their impact on the city's footprint by selling it to another location. So if you have a big solid waste site, you want to move it away from this urban center and sell that to another location, put it in another location in the private market sector, and the people that handle that will make profit as well. Water quality was also helped by the Clean Water Act, which targeted waste in rivers, streams, and lakes. We're 30 or 40 years after the Clean Water Act, and waste has gone down tremendously in our public water facilities, and that was due to the Clean Water Act back in the 70s. And urban land management process improved over time as well. Cities built more parks, planted more trees, and importantly created new green zones in and around housing zones. The people clamored for more trees and more green space and more greenery, and governments responded by building new parks and stuff around housing areas. Finally, we went into population growth, which can either threaten or improve environmental quality, especially over the world, as cities that don't have established infrastructure have to develop ways to handle more people, and all these people are coming into the cities. So spatial growth is a huge part of that, and the last 30 years, sprawl has been the problem because of that. You have road building, reduced transit options, environmental waste, and increased emission pollutions are the products of sprawl, because basically you have all these cars moving out to the suburbs, driving everywhere. That increases carbon emissions. More people don't want transit at all, and most people develop a ideology or a political bent that says they don't really want to conserve, and it's freedom basically not to conserve. But as we can see here, to drive smart growth, to get, to reverse the effects of sprawl, you need land consumption and water consumption. They will decrease once you make smaller houses and enact those green policies that can increase a city's wealth. So I have here, green cities are richer but could shut out the poor and lead to a negative impact on the environment because of these actions. Finally, climate change is the key reason why all of this growth is happening back in the cities. It's vitally important that we reduce our greenhouse emissions and the greenhouse gases, because ultimately the cities will face a tragedy of the commons. We talked about this earlier in our readings and our labs, and no one nation has an incentive to reduce these gases unilaterally. So as far as the commons, we're all the commons, we have an obligation and a duty to reduce these, and cities can do their part in doing that. One of the ways we can do that, a couple of the ways the book was Mr. Kahn was referring to, was economic growth, cap and trade, and environmental policy. To wrap this up, I learned that this book was very forward and broad in its approach to all the different factors and complexities of achieving two important things: economic growth and reducing our environmental impact. Sometimes those things don't run hand in hand, but here the book was really just arguing, here are some of the ways we can do it. I liked how the book didn't say that it can be achieved, but it did lay out the different factors of how it could be achieved. The EKC was the main thing he talked about in the book, and it was the most important thing central to the book. He argued for it and against it, and really just came to a conclusion like there will be a proper balance, that it can work, but we really need time to make sure that we can see the results. We'll see the results over time. The goal of having economic growth and caring for the environment can be achieved when that proper balance is struck between the government and the market. And like almost everything these days, the proper balance is key to almost everything that we do in the governments and free markets. Thank you for listening to my book report.